Hi, thank you so much for giving me a few minutes to tell you about this 3-day addiction recovery workshop that I have prepared for you. I am so excited to finally have this to be able to share it with you. I am somebody who struggled with an addiction for almost 2 decades, and in that time, almost the entire time, I found myself also stuck in an addiction recovery program. I was trying and I was failing. Whether or not I was trying to do the program or not, I definitely wanted to stop what I was doing, and I found myself in this perpetual cycle of trying and failing and trying and failing and giving up, then trying and failing and trying and failing. All of that pattern, that entire time, was really punctuated by moments of rock bottom, moments where I thought, surely I have finally gotten myself so low that I'll be scared enough to do this, to finally let go of my addiction. But what I found is that it didn't matter what promises I made to myself or to my family or even to God. It didn't matter what the cost was. It didn't matter what the cost was to my body, to my social life, to my spirit. I couldn't stop. I was in a perpetual cycle of doing things that I kept meaning not to do. Now, my addiction maybe is different than your addiction, but ultimately I think addiction is addiction, and it really all comes down to the same thing. We're trying to find relief from big feelings that are really, really hard to feel. We just don't want to be inside of our body. And so for me, I found myself in that place over and over again where I was trying and failing. Like I said, whether or not I was in an addiction recovery program or not. Now, I did stumble across an addiction recovery program early in this journey with my own addiction. And when I first found that addiction recovery program, I was relieved. I felt like I'd finally found the answer that I was looking for. Unfortunately, the program had some requirements that I couldn't meet. One of them being that I had to actually abstain from my addiction. And so what I found was that as I tried and failed to abstain from my addiction, I felt like I was trying and failing to apply an addiction recovery program that would work. I still believed I had found something that would work for me. I just gave up hope that I could be the person I needed to be to do the work that had to be done in order for it to work for me. Now, this went on for, like I said, almost 2 decades. Finally, I found myself a complete rock bottom. I had hit lots of rock bottoms before. I had had moments that were so scary, and the cost had been so great that I felt like surely this is it. I was relieved sometimes to be at what I identified to be as rock bottom because I just thought I needed something that would hurt me enough and scare me enough to make me let it go forever. But it didn't matter how many rock bottoms I hit. I still somehow found my way back into my addiction and back to a new rock bottom. But I will say that my last rock bottom looked like this. I had eaten myself almost to death. I was over 300 pounds. I was destroying my life. I was destroying my career. I was staying up till 4 o'clock every morning, indulging in my addiction by going to the freezer and having bowl after bowl of ice cream and moving through video after video after video on Facebook, compulsively in that place. And I just couldn't stop. It didn't matter that I had to wake up early the next morning and bring my son to school. It didn't matter that I was falling asleep at my computer during the day and not able to get my work done, and then trying to manage it all in the afternoon when my son came home. It didn't matter. I couldn't stop, and the problem was getting worse and worse and worse. Finally, I decided to get on some medication and to go to counseling, and it didn't matter. I was still stuck. And in that place, I reached a low that I had never reached before. I was utterly hopeless. I had tried an addiction recovery program over and over and over again, and now I had gone into counseling and medication, and I still found myself a version of me that I meant not to be. I felt stuck. I felt trapped. It didn't seem like I could stop destroying my life or the life of my son or my career or the other things that were most important to me. I felt like just me, by virtue of being alive, was causing more destruction than I was providing life or even living my own life. And it was in that place that one night I found myself staring at the suicide hotline number in my hand. I had the number up on my phone and I was just praying that I wouldn't have to call before morning. If I could just fall asleep and get through the night, I had hope that another day might be the difference for me. Well, thank God I did make it through the night. I did wake up the next morning without ever having to call the suicide hotline number. I had fallen asleep looking at it, but never had to call. That next day, I knew I was now in the fight for my life, and I had to do whatever I had to do to make it. So I went back into an addiction recovery program, but this time it was completely different. There was just this perfect lineup of people and events and experiences and honestly divine intervention that opened up the addiction recovery process to me in a way I had never understood it never understood it before. Never mind the fact that I had been in and out of addiction recovery programs for almost 20 years. Suddenly, things made sense and it clicked in a way it never had clicked before. I understood what I had to do, but more importantly, I began to understand what I did not have to do. What I want to do for you in this 3-day event is I want to bring you into this addiction recovery process and really break it down for you in a very simple and easy to apply way. Let me tell you what we're going to do from day one. From day one, I'm going to begin to tell you and teach you why you're in your addiction in the first place. What is it that's sending you in there? You weren't born with a disease. You weren't born with some malfunctioning gene that makes you an addict while the rest of the world just goes through and lives their life as normal humans. No. Once an addict, always an addict? That's not a thing. You have not been blessed with some spiritual deformity that you're just going to have to live around for the rest of your life. There are actual things in your life that you will be able to identify and see and become more self-aware of so that you can recognize where they are and what they're doing to you and how they are sending you into your addiction or other compulsive behaviors each day. So we're going to start our 3-day event by talking to you about what those things are and what to do once you find yourself in the middle of your addiction. Now, we're not going to do any of this in a judgy way. We're not going to do any of this as we're on fire, we're trying to put things out kind of way. We're going to start as curious observers, just to step back and look at your life as a curious observer to better understand what the heck is going on. How can you find yourself in a behavior that might be very dangerous to you or to even people around you? How can you do that? Well, there are answers. There are reasons that you're doing that, and there is something that you are getting out of your addiction and even your journey into the addiction. We're going to identify what those are, and I'm going to give you the resources and the tools and the strategies you need in order to manage that and to get yourself out of that pattern. These are things that you can begin to apply immediately. Now, when you come to this 3-day event, I don't promise that you're going to leave this 3-day event having been cured of an addiction, but what I do guarantee is that you will have all the resources and the tools you need to know how to unravel the addiction in your life. And you're going to have had a lot of hands-on practice doing it there in the 3-day event. You're going to have built up a muscle memory for how to do these things. You'll be able to recognize the things that come into your life that send you into your addiction, and you're going to have tools, resources, and strategy that will help you while you're in that place of being triggered and while you're in that place of indulging in your addiction, or while you're coming down off of a high after and trying to sort through the reality of here, I went again into my addiction. I'm going to give you tools, strategies, and resources to help you manage those different spaces, to help you use all of them as a point of service to you, all of them as a point of learning and growth so that you can take each of them and solve the mystery of why did I do this? How could I have done that? How do I never do this again? I'm going to give you the answers to those questions so that you can stop addiction in your tracks. Addiction comes and it can go. If you weren't born with it, it does not belong to you. Addiction is something that was programmed into your habits in your daily life. It's something that can be programmed out of it. I'm telling you that if you come to this 3-day event, day one, you're going to start learning the resources and strategies you need to really become self-aware of what's happening and how to move yourself out of it. Day one, that's where we're going to start is what is your addiction? Why do you find yourself in it? What is going on? And then in day two, we're going to move right into giving you the tools and resources you need to help become more resilient to your addiction. We'll be able to recognize the things that trigger you and send you into it. And it's nice to be able to know how to come back out of it. But even better, don't you want the tools and resources you need to avoid going there in the first place? I'm going to give you some specific practices and strategies that will help you become resilient to those initial circumstances and those initial triggers that might send you there in the first place. Now, I'm not just going to give you this information. I am going to give you actual time to practice this. As you do this, again, you're going to be building up this muscle memory to see how to do it and how to live it in your life so that when you leave the 3-day event, you're not just going to have a brain full of a lot of information and notes. You are going to have actual practices in your mind and your body that you have done, that you know how to do, so it'll be easier for you to continue to apply them after the 3-day event when you go back to your regular life, back to your regular family and your job and whatever it is, whatever the situations you find yourself in that for you might be difficult to manage, or just your normal everyday life that where you find yourself moving into your addiction. You're going to have the muscle memory that will accompany you back into your life to help you live your life in a completely different way. In addition to that, you're going to have the benefit of having that experience around a lot of other people who are also having that experience. You see, as you move into the space where you experience this miracle, honestly, it's just a miracle of being able to feel yourself in a place where you have cravings and you want to move into your addiction, and be able to unravel that and have the experience of having relief from the cravings, having relief from the compulsion, not the loneliness, not just the ability to let that moment pass, but to literally deconstruct it down to, I feel relief from that urge. I feel relief from that craving. You're going to have that experience, and that is going to help you create a map of certainty that you can do this. You can do this over and over. You can do this again tomorrow and the next day, several times a day, until your addiction is neutralized and removed from your life. You're going to have that experience for you, a map of your own experiences. But as you see this take place in the lives of others, you will better be able to dial in how it's done and what it looks like in different situations with different people. This will reinforce your certainty that these are fail-safe strategies, and these are strategies that could be duplicated across time, across personalities, across situations. Because when you come to this 3-day event, there might be specific situations in your life that you are currently in and addressing and working through. And as you deconstruct your cravings and urges in that space, that's going to be very reaffirming to you. But you're going to see other people in other situations, in their relationships, in their jobs, in their financial life. And those might not be the situations you're in right now, but maybe those are situations you have been in or will be in. And to see someone else's success as they unravel the cravings and the urges in those circumstances, it really helps to build up your bank in your own map of how you can recover in all circumstances. So please come to the event. I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to giving you these tools and resources to help you move through your addiction recovery program in a way that is simple, in a way that you can begin to practice now. I'm going to unravel the mystery of what is addiction, why am I here, and how do I get out of it? When you leave, you will know the question, you will know the answer to all of those questions. So I hope that you will join me. I look forward to seeing you there. I'll see you soon.